Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Usually, I do this in chronological order. I like to go from the start of the weekend. There's fights that took place on the Friday or whatever, Thursday sometimes, and then we go through to Sunday and we call it a day. Occasionally, we go through to Monday if there is Sunday night fights or Japan cards or whatever. On this occasion, I'm going to do things a little bit different. I want to talk and start at the main event of last night, the card that obviously everyone watching, the one fight that they were looking forward to specifically, which is Dillian Whyte versus Moses Itauma. So, if you guys watched Fight Talk Live earlier, you'll see that I gave some thoughts on there. But I said there's some other stuff I want to talk about and address with regards to this fight, and I'm going to do so here on my channel. Yes, Fight Talk is also on my channel and on the others, but I didn't want any of my takes to be associated with the rest of the guys, just in case there is any backlash that comes forward, just so people know it's 100% me and how I feel about the situation. So, first things first, I want to state for the record yet again, I am a very big supporter of Dillian Whyte. Part of my analysis and my breakdown was done believing in the best of Dillian and seeing what I've seen from him in the past. The same as when he fought Fury, and I gave the take, which turned out to be horrendous, that I think that he would beat Fury just due to the style matchup. And to be honest, I still maintain that a couple of years ago, when I had actually made that statement, I truly believed it could have happened then. As we see, Dillian has had his moments. He's had his, his battles, his demons, his trials, his tribulations, sometimes just getting bigger, getting slower, getting more cumbersome, and lacking more punch resistance. So, first thing I want to do is just address the fight. There's not enough that happened for us to be able to really say whether Moses is the truth or not. But there's more than enough about him just from the eye test, which I don't always like to go on. But the eye test and going on just the way that he carries himself, his maturity levels and everything about him that suggests that, number one, he is the real deal and that he is going to be one of the futures and reigning superstars of the heavyweight division moving forward. Everything he did was punch perfect. The speed difference between him and Dillian was, it was immense. It was almost laughable in some moments. The fact that he had the larger reach, which doesn't often happen with Dillian Whyte. He does have unusually long arms for his height and his body frame, but Moses had a longer reach than him, and from that southpaw jab he was able to get that jab and that back in just much quicker than Dillian was, and he made Dillian fall into some very obvious traps and stuff that he's done prior, all within 2 minutes of action. Now, I want to address the start of the downfall, and I said it on the stream yesterday, so no one can say that I was watching other videos and I picked up on other stuff or whatever, and I said it on Fight Talk Live earlier on. The shot that started the downfall of Dillian Whyte was a shot on the back of the head. It was an illegal shot. It wasn't a shot that Moses could have got disqualified from because he didn't throw it intentionally. Actually, here's the thing. To say that he didn't throw it intentionally, the fact that, Dillian's head was down, but it's not like he dipped his head down as the shot was coming in. His head was kind of already there. So you could maybe say that Moses took a chance. He took an opportunity to land something that was not legal at the time. And that one shot there started the downfall of Dillian Whyte. The leg stumbled. The equilibrium kind of went off balance. We saw it immediately as it took place, and then Moses started picking punches perfectly. Dillian started rocking and rolling, wobbling along the ropes, trying to do the cross guard, trying to just get some defensive composure back in the fight, until ultimately Moses managed to pull down. You know, he did that little swift pull down and then short right hook on the inside, which knocked Dillian down to the floor. He gets up maybe a bit too early, but he's obviously trying to make sure he beats the count, and he stumbles, and as he stumbles the referee waves it off. He complains profusely like, why are you waving it off? Give me a chance to at least get back into this thing. Give me a moment, give me a chance. All of the pundits seem to say it was the right stoppage. Was it the right stoppage? Look, probably yes, because we, from that moment happened, there was no way I think that we felt he was going to get back into the fight and at least make it competitive. Would he have maybe lasted the rest of that round? Maybe got through to the second, third, possibly, but realistically, the fight wasn't going to go past 4 rounds at a push after then. So maybe the referee did the right thing. That being said, and I know this should have no bearing on a referee's decision or a job, but just like judges sometimes get influenced by the crowd and maybe the reactions from other people around ringside, this was a pay-per-view card. So without there being a clean knockout in the first round, and obviously this bout is the bout that you've paid the pay-per-view for, as a consumer, I can imagine you will feel a bit disappointed, a bit underserved, and a bit frustrated that you haven't got your money's worth. That's probably the way it kind of comes across. But with this being a pay-per-view card, I have another issue, because the rumors are, and I've seen it. I think Sonny Ed was one of the first people to come out with this, but I've heard it from other sources within the camp and very close to the Dillian Whyte camp, that he came into the fight with a leg injury, which makes sense because we saw the way that he was kind of walking towards the ring. It did look like he was hobbling a little bit. He's never had the greatest of legs to begin with, due to past issues, which, if you know, you know. But okay, there's an injury that took place. Now, I don't know when this injury took place. This is the part that's the most interesting, because when did this injury happen? To say, and Dillian, as a warrior, said, look, I couldn't pull out, or it was too late to pull out of the fight or something like that. Now listen, big man, again, this is coming from someone that supported you from day dot. If you are not fit to fight, don't fight, especially when the money's on the line, because ultimately, if you're not fighting on that card, I get refunded. That card is no longer a pay-per-view card. They will refund me back my money, and then you can go at another date when you are better suited, and you get another opportunity. Now, was this a case of, okay, I need to try and get on this Riyadh bag and do all that because I haven't had the opportunity to do it, and if I pull out now, I'll never get back on one of these cards? If that's the thought logic, then again, that's the wrong logic to be going with, because your health and safety is paramount to everything. Like, you've got a family, you've got, from what I've recently heard, a wife, like, you've got kids, you've got people that love it and need you, and you're going into fights. It's not the first time you've gone into fights injured either, but certain injuries are easier to master than others. But if you're that injured, whether it's broken hands, broken bones, like ribs and whatever, like those kind of injuries, you can't be going into fights with and then not giving 100%. Then probably going to tell people, or someone's going to find that down the line, oh well, he wasn't unable to to compete at full mass because of an injury. Okay, well, what did I pay £20 for then? What did everyone else pay £20 for? To see you hobble around the ring and be a glorified punching bag just to prove how tough you are? No, I want to see you in there with the most realistic and best opportunity for you to be able to win the fight. Now, I support you, win, lose or draw, but I support you because I know that you always give everything when you're in the ring. Last night, you didn't give everything. You didn't even give me what I expected to see on the ring walk. So how do I then look at that now and honestly feel like I can trust you when you put up I think you put up a post earlier on today, or a repost of Dev Sani's comment saying, you know, that this guy is always a warrior, or always going to have my respect or something, and he's said, I'll be back. But how can how maybe I don't want you back now, because maybe I can't trust when you tell me that, yeah, you're good to go, you're not good to go. If you're fighting injured, you're fighting with inhibitions, or you're fighting with, you know, demons that you can't quite master right now, especially if I'm paying pay-per-view for that. But ultimately, because I rate and respect you so much, I don't even want to see you on my TV if you're not 100%, or if I can't trust that you're 100%. Because to me, it pains me to watch you get put down and get beat in the manner that you got beat. Like, a lot of, as you've said before, a lot of people don't give you the credit, or don't give you the credit for wins or certain things you do. Now, as I said on Fight Talk earlier, some opportunities and some things, some problems and issues that you've had, you created yourself. And I'm not talking about any of the PED stuff, because I understand and know what's gone on with all of those situations, and how, you know, nothing was, you know, done deliberately on your part in any of those. But the Rivas fight, the Povetkin fight, all of those fights, when you're supposed to be fighting for a world title, and you're choosing these fights to just to go on pay-per-views, basically, whereas all of the champions that what they had at the time were all 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and you're fighting guys that are shorter than you. None of that made sense. The amount of times you're calling out Deontay Wilder, but you're not fighting anyone that's going to prepare you for Deontay Wilder, even though your thing is, oh, well, I'm still learning on the job, so I need to sort of gain the experience from all of these people. But those people can't help you fight the people that you're supposed to be going in the ring with. Every single opponent you fought, from Lucas Brown, maybe Joseph Parker onwards, should have been 6'5" and up. You should not have been fighting anyone that was eye level to you. But that's a whole nother story. Ultimately, I just don't know. Honestly, I don't really want you to come back unless your head's clear, unless you're injury free, or unless you're basically fighting the other also runs. Like, none of the guys from the new crop, no Jared Andersons, no Richard Torreses. Like, Moses obviously forget that. Even in a couple of years from now, Leo Atang and Joshua Edwards in the States, like, all of that crop, leave them alone. Tony Yoka, even leave Tony Yoka alone. Anyone that is under the age of 35 is not for you to be taking on right now. You know, Chisora, who's got one foot out the door, that's your bag. Maybe maybe a Makhmudov you might be able to get away with. Who else is in that other class? Yeah, basically those guys, like a Terra Moana, leave him. Justice Hooney, obviously I know you and Wardley manage each other. Lawrence Okoli, all of these, man, leave these guys alone. Possibly you might be able to scrape through an AJ fight, but even that I don't see working out well for you at this point in time, if you want to have any of these fights. Honestly, I think your legacy deserves to be preserved somewhat. Like, Chisora's been able to eat loss after loss after loss and still be revered, but I don't think you'll get the same grace as him. And because of that, I don't want you to turn your career into, you know, a laughing stock thing. Some people are able to bounce back from it. I don't think you're going to be one of them, and you've got a lot more in life. I feel like there's much better things for you. So look, that's my side of things. I'm not saying retire, but I'm saying there's certain challenges that you have to just understand is not your bag right about now. And if you're not fighting just the other, you know, also rans and the other older guys in the divisions, it's not really going to end well. And I think we've seen that now. Could it have been a little bit different if it wasn't the back of the head shot? Who knows? Anyway, look, that's my thoughts and feelings on the main event and how everything there transpired. But looking at the event itself, and I stated I was not happy with the order of the fights, purely because to me the best four fights on the card was obviously the main event, which everyone's paid for. Nick Bull, Sam Goodman, we knew that was going to be chief support, co-main, whatever, because it was a world title fight. And then after that, it was supposed to have been Ford Kakachi and then Hergovich and Adelier, but they changed the order, probably because Nova came in for Kakachi. They had, Ray Ford fighting on the prelim portion. Now, don't get me wrong, that was actually worked well for me because at least on YouTube they've got picture in picture, which the zone still need to flip and get, because it's annoying that I can't use my phone for other things if I'm out and about. If I'm watching the zone, I can't have the zone on in the like half of the screen or in the back or in the picture in picture and then use my phone to send someone else a message or whatever. It's annoying that I can't do that, but I do it on YouTube. So I was watching Nova and Ray Ford, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I wanted to talk about that fight on my live, which I was unable to do. That being said, look, Muhammad Alakel, I can't even remember the name of his opponent, but he got a third round knockout, I believe. So he's doing well. I think that was his fourth or his fifth fight. So congrats to him. Ray Ford, Abraham Nova, if you watch Basis Picks, you'll say that I predicted the fight almost to the letter of how it played out. And that was just pretty much how I expected it to go. Ray Ford did not have it his own way, as maybe he expected he would do, but he did more than enough to make it clear and concise, to me at least, that he won. I think the scorecards were a bit wider than maybe I would have said, but yeah, ultimately I still think he won. I've seen online a couple of people feel like he didn't win that fight. I'm not arguing with anybody, but the prediction stuck, and the method and even sort of the way it played out was all came the way I predicted it to be. Now, Hergovich, Adelier, same thing there. I got it spot on. I said, look, after the first 2 to 3 rounds of the fight, you would basically get David shelling up and looking to be a bit more in survival mode and just be looking for like one big punch. And that would be his tactics. But while he's doing that, Hergovich is just outworking him, outlanding him. And I think I even said that I think Hergovich might even drop him, but I think David will be able to see out the final bell. I can't remember if I said about the dropping part, but I said that he would, pretty much get beat up and David would be surviving the bout. And that's pretty much exactly how it played out. 8th round could be a contender for round of the year. It was definitely a back and forth, and not only a back and forth, you got, you had David A get dropped, but then come back and throw a big, it was like a 15 to 20 punch flurry. And I've made a tweet as soon as that happened, or just after it happened and I was watching, I said that I know Howard Foster would have been having an orgasm in that 8th round, just thinking about all the ways he could have jumped in to stop that fight. And it would have been crazy, because imagine you stop the fight, Hergovich doesn't, he doesn't fall down, doesn't wobble, doesn't take a backward step, winning every round beforehand, and then won the last 2 rounds after that as well. But I just know someone like Howard Foster definitely would have jumped in. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Case Ashfaq with Ryet Satsumi was what it was. Ashfaq got knocked down, I think 3 times in I think it was the 3rd round. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I was busy talking to the people on the live watch along as it happened. So, Satsumi, I'm assuming they put him on that part of the card to appeal to the Japanese audience, who probably would have been waking up or been in the early morning. I mean, sort of the late morning, early afternoon part of their day at that time. I can only assume that was the reason why that bout ended up there on the card. Sam Goodman, Nick Bull, with Nick Ball, I've said the same thing that I've been saying on the last few videos. You're probably tired of me saying it right now. All I want to do is see Nick Ball face people from his actual weight division. That's it. Outside of that, I said that, if Sam Goodman tries to sort of match him and show and be macho, mano a mano, rather than using his attributes to try and box and move, then Nick Paul's gonna steamroll him. But I predicted he'd win on points. I thought Goodman would be too. I thought he'd be too sort of tough and durable to get stopped, but that he would kind of get jammed up and ultimately lose a wide points decision. Now, he did lose a wide points decision, but I disagree with the scorecards. So even though the way I predicted the fight was perfect in terms of how the scorecards played out, I actually think that there's three different scorecards I believe would have been justified in that. That's 116, 112 to Sam Goodman, 115, 113 to Sam Goodman, or 114, 114 a draw. Those are the three cards that, while I wasn't outright scoring, that's what I saw. Now, I knew Nick Ball would win. I knew he'd get consideration. The last, British male champion around and all that sort of stuff. You know that they were definitely angled to give him the close rounds, especially as he likes to throw a lot of flurries. So 115, 113 is just kind of the scorecards I was expecting to see. And one of the judges gave us that scorecard. Now, I don't know what rounds they gave, but I can accept that scorecard because I kind of knew that unless Sam Goodman did something, did a absolute masterclass and made it totally clear that Nick Ball was not landing anything at all in any round, that he would obviously end up losing on points. But Sam Goodman, those first 3 to 4 rounds, he was like styling on Nick Ball. He was making him look cumbersome, clumsy. Nick Ball was trying to throw himself into shots, getting thrown off balance, getting pivoted round the corner, getting his head popped off with the jab, body shots. It was looking like they were two different skill classes. But as soon as Goodman started to basically drop the pace a bit, stop moving as much, stop fainting as much, is when Nick Ball was able to sort of get a bit more of a foothold in the fight. But I thought that if Goodman got on the inside and tried to, show that he's tough like Ball, is where Ball's going to excel, because we all know that he's, as I said, he's extremely dirty, but he's very strong and very stocky and well built. But Sam Goodman pushed him around the ring every time they was in the clinch. I was surprised that that Goodman was that strong, or was that much overpowering to Nick Ball. So he must have he must be a very sturdy frame. There was a time when Nick Ball did try to hip toss him, and Goodman barely moved. And I think Nick Ball at that moment was a little shocked, like, oh, that normally works. But Goodman was like, no, we're not doing that. Like, you might be able to get away with that with them other guys, not me. So I was surprised. Shout out to Sam Goodman. Turkey put out a tweet where he basically said, oh, Goodman performed brilliantly. And he said, and the rounds were very close. I definitely want to see him back on Riyadh season cards again. That to me cryptically kind of tells me that I think Turkey thinks he won the fight, because he didn't just say, oh, he put up a great effort and I want to see. He said, from he made that instance about the rounds were close, I definitely think he probably feels that either Goodman won, or the rounds that he was given or not given in this case were a bad decision by the judges. So yeah, I mean, look, with that, that was pretty much that. Again, just to quickly reiterate my thoughts on the main event, like, we haven't learned anything new from Moses Itauma, but Moses at the moment is looking like the truth, and it's going to take someone very special to be able to put him in the positions that we as the fans want to see him in the ring. The difference, obviously, the problem is you go from sort of the also-rans and the journeyman and maybe the fringe gatekeepers to like the top level of the sport, and there's very small middle ground in between. So they gotta still keep the reins on carefully, just to get a few more rounds under the belt, try and find some durable opponents. Let's see sort of how he works and how he interacts with that. But outside of that, look, he's special. Also, just really quickly, I haven't been able to watch the UFC Fight Pass card that I spoke about on Basis Picks, but I do know that Guadalupe Medina, she won unanimous decision. I thought that she might get the late stoppage, but again, I saw that she did hurt her opponent a couple times towards the end of the fight. So when those 10 rounders come, maybe she can start to get those stoppages. And Mizuki Hiruta, she beat Naomi Cardenas via unanimous decision. I think I predicted that she would possibly get a majority or a split, but she would still just about eke it out. Or I think actually, no, I think I said unanimous on the video, but on my league, my predictions league, I think I said split decision. So, and Omar Trinidad got he got a draw with Paro, so it must have been 6 rounds apiece or 5 rounds apiece. Haven't been able to see any of the fights, can't really comment on them like that. But look, that's the weekend wrapped up. That's my thoughts. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel. Like, if I'm just being a bit over the top, OTT, let me know. If you agree with me, let me know why you agree. If you disagree, let me know why you disagree. And if anyone from the team, Dillian's team's watching, like, I'm still rocking with the body snatcher. But yeah, I don't like what happened last night, and some serious conversations, or some serious some serious just honesty, some honesty, some self-honesty needs to take place now. And yeah, that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, like, subscribe and share. Thank you very much for listening. More content coming out this week. I'll get some more stuff out. My week should be a bit more settled than usual, so hopefully we'll be back to some decent stuff. It looks like I'm going to have to engineer a Femme Files live or something along those lines to satiate Danny Glover, but we'll work on that. But yeah, without that being said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Catch you on the next one. But until then, peace.